Welcome to the first ever interview with Automatic Income. Today, we are featuring the funding king, AKA Andrew Imbessi. He's going to dive deep into advanced funding strategies with a focus on 0% interest funding and many of the success stories you've been seeing lately of people just multiplying their income. Also worked with the funding king, so I'm super excited to dive right into it. And real quick though, Andrew, how you been, man?
Oh, I've been good, man. It's nice to be here with you on your first interview, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Yep, awesome, man. I'm super excited too. And then fun fact, which we're not going to dive into on this one, but Andrew was instrumental in making automatic income possible. And
it was all you, man.
Oh man, well, you definitely helped big time, so I appreciate you for that. But real quick, for the people watching this, what is 0% interest funding in your words?
It's the only real method of like 0% interest anything. It's taking advantage of those promotional offers you may see on credit cards, whether they're personal credit cards or business credit cards. So for the example of this video, let's use Wells Fargo, right? Like if you look at their personal credit cards and their business credit cards, some of them have, promotional offer for the first, 15, 12 months or so. When you open the card, anything that you purchase or balance transfer, you could get 0% interest as long as you make the minimum payment. So that's, you're basically tapping into money that you could pretty much use for anything in the form of like a credit card.
Excellent. So pretty much certain companies can give credit cards where there's no interest or much other charges. And
yeah, exactly.
Essentially you're getting access to capital at 0% for an introductory period for 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could just get approved for like a $10,000 credit card, and you could theoretically use that credit card at that zero, taking advantage of that promotional offer to, there's a lot of different things you could do with it, right? You could, in our case, use it for automatic income of some sort. Some other people may use it for a month-long vacation, but to each their own, right?
Yeah, of course. And I know that like credit cards get a bad rep because a lot of people use them irresponsibly. But at the same time, I know you've literally helped people replace or multiply their income with fully passive income. What would you recommend people do if they get access to tens of thousands of dollars at 0% interest?
Yeah, very good question. So something I've seen a lot of people do, right? Not necessarily financial advice, right? But something I've seen a lot of people do is use credit cards for things like real estate, a lot of the opportunities you talk about on your channel, e-commerce or YouTube channels. I've seen people use it for tons of different ways for them to grow and expand their existing business, or start a new business. So really the possibilities of what you could use a credit card for are really endless. It just gives you, like, when you put the pieces together and realize that, wow, I could get approved for maybe 10 cards that total up to $50,000 to $100,000. Like, really the possibilities of what you could use that for are really endless. It's going to save you tons of time trying to save your own capital year after year after year, to eventually have enough money to maybe start that thing when you could just tap into it right now.
One thing I definitely want to highlight is you were only talking about income stream opportunities. So given you have a good income stream opportunity and you have the resources right there, it can pretty much accelerate your growth if you're using it wisely and what you're using it for works out, of course. And another thing I just want people to understand is you didn't say buy designer clothes or buy
That
expensive
stuff is nice
dinners.
too, but first you
Yeah,
gotta establish those income streams so that you can start using, your charge cards, not even your credit cards,
yeah.
to buy those things.
That's kind of the way both of us operate, right? We don't use credit cards for luxuries. We use credit cards to increase our income when we have high levels of confidence it's going to do that. And then we use our increased income for the luxuries when we want to eat a nice dinner or travel.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And then how do you really maximize the amount of access to capital you can get? Like, what are some key things that really help
Yeah.
people,
hmm
yeah, get
Well,
access to a lot?
yeah, yeah, good question. Well, it's really going to come down to like your personal income or even your business income if you're getting business credit cards, right? It's going to come down to your personal credit score
Yeah,
mostly, especially in the beginning,
yeah,
um, because your borrowing history and how you present yourself to a bank or a financial institution to obtain a lending product. You're going to want to
yeah,
come out as a top tier applicant is what I like to call them. So
yeah,
who's really like the best option? Who's the best person to lend, a sizable amount of money to? And all of those things are going to be decided based on, your credit report. It's going to be decided based on how much money you make, how you could repay back the debt. And if you're getting a business credit card, like what industry is your business in? All these different kinds of small little things that just, overall determine your risk of, a borrower to the bank.
yeah, definitely income, industry, and of course, credit score. And real quick, I feel like the people watching this would be interested. Do you have any tips for people to boost their credit? Any like simple things that would help them achieve that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's going to sound so simple, but it's something that is going to be very tricky to do if you have late payments or derogatory marks, things like that. I could give you one strategy that I've definitely used with people. Sometimes when we have like a very small little thing there, and maybe someone has like $100 collection, right? But it's holding them up from being able to actually do like some funding, right? Apply for some credit cards. Then one of the small strategies that we do there is we'll call the creditor, the person who put that collection there on your report, and we'll call and ask and say, now I'm not like a credit repair expert or anything. It's just a tiny little tip I've heard of. We'll just call and ask, hey, so in exchange for me paying down this collection, can you delete it off my credit report? And you want to also get a signed letter so that in case they for whatever reason do not delete it off your credit report, then you actually have something signed from the company saying that they were going to do this as promised in exchange for you doing something for them, right?
Yeah.
It's all about exchange, right? Making sure that their credit report is like super clean, like no late payments, no derogatory marks. They hadn't recently applied for like 6 credit cards or so before they met me, because that's what I'm planning to do with them. And there's only so many that you can do in a given period of time.
All right. So that was really helpful for a specific situation of having derogatory marks or anything like that, because I
Yeah,
know,
yeah. It's definitely a big one I run into with people for sure.
yeah, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have missed payments and
Yeah.
collections or anything like
One,
things like that
yeah, and
watching
one
this,
other
but
thing too is it's
yeah,
very simple. Maybe a lot of people have heard these two things. One being, increasing your credit line, like soft pulls.
yeah,
I wouldn't do one for like a hard pull unless you were starting to do hard pulls to get new credit cards. But another very simple thing is just paying down your balance before the
yeah.
due date. So that way, when the reporting date comes a couple days later, you're able to apply and get approved for higher limits. Your score is that much higher, your utilization's that much lower. So that's another little tip trick that I implement with people in my program for sure.
I actually went through funding with you, of course, and my score was like high 500s, and all I did was pay it down. And then 2 out of the 3 bureaus, it was in the 800s.
Yeah.
And one of them, it was like 790 something.
Yeah.
So
Not a huge difference, you know?
yeah, so that's huge. And if everything else is good and you just have balance, like once you pay it off, it can shoot it right up, right?
Yeah.
Real quick, for people who want to go through funding but maybe carrying a balance, I heard you like kind of just almost referencing
Yeah, yeah.
that,
I mean,
but
really, yeah,
what
you
would
just
that be
have to
like?
find some. I mean, I wouldn't do a debt consolidation loan just
Yeah,
because that doesn't necessarily erase the fact that you have debt, which is what
yeah,
we're going for as a result of paying down cards, right? There's no way
yeah,
around that. Like you just have to pay the cards at some
yeah,
point. So, um, so I've had people, where they'll pay it down themselves, right? They're just carrying a balance, but they don't care too much about paying it down. So then when I tell them to do it, or suggest that they do it, then they do it. But there is a resource that I know of in my program, and he actually helps these kinds of people who have, maybe $15,000 of credit card debt maxed out, and they want to obtain more credit cards, but they can't pay down $15,000, right? So he'll
yeah,
actually give those people money out of his own pocket so they could pay down the credit cards. And then after that reflection comes on their credit report that they paid down their cards and that looks like they paid down their debt, their score is going to shoot up. They apply for more cards. And then once they get approved for more cards, or as they start applying for things, they could then pay back this friend of mine who just loaned them some money temporarily.
essentially it's called a bridge loan,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where you're paying down someone's debt and then they're using it to get more debt or
yeah.
credit availability.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds kind
But
of fun,
then,
but once you're making like a lot of money using other people's money, it's just
yeah,
that's the whole reason to do it. It sounds
yeah,
crazy, but that's like where, I know I had to realize, and maybe you too, just kind of getting out of the whole um mindset, at least I grew up with, because I didn't really have entrepreneurs around me. Kind of had to
yeah,
figure out this stuff by myself, and definitely was always afraid of the idea of debt. Always wanted to use cash for everything, would tell my dad that before I even got my first credit card. And
yeah.
it was kind of funny.
I'm in the same boat, come from a middle class family where debt's bad, don't ever get debt.
Yeah,
And now here we are multiplying our income,
using it. Yeah,
leveraging it as
exactly.
needed.
Yeah,
So
you got to shift that mindset from thinking like someone that's, right around you to thinking the ways that the people that you actually aspire to become think, right? You got to think like the people whose shoes that you want to fill yourself.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for example, talk about filling shoes. The wealthiest person in the world, Elon Musk, he wasn't even paying himself income. He was getting loans for income
Yeah.
for years. He still might even be doing it just because the tax advantages of debt as well. If you want to get the results someone's having, then look to the person like actually doing it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And then I know about a ton of the clients you're working with. In fact, I'm working with some of your clients as well. And I've heard some incredible stories about matter of days, how much access to capital people have gotten. But like, tell me about some of the results people have been getting with
Yeah.
going through funding with you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think that's a really, really, really good question right now, especially because people probably, it's October 2022, right? And
Yeah.
people see the news articles and stuff that the Fed is raising interest rates and all that stuff. And I know I've been
Yeah.
getting asked a lot, like, how long will 0% still be a thing, right? And
Yeah.
all that ties into, right? Like, can people still get approved for a lot of money at 0% interest? Back to your question of that. And yeah, I'm still getting people, multiple six figures of approvals. Just the other week, I helped someone get over $110,000 from 4 lenders. right?
Yeah.
And we still had another like 5 or 6 to apply to, right?
Yeah.
So this person, you know, followed all kind of the things that I mentioned earlier, right? With income and credit score, right? Everything was looking good. She also had gotten a bridge loan too. And
All
yeah,
right.
she was approved for $110,000 from 4 lenders, right?
Yeah.
Four business cards, and even a business line of credit. Actually, 5 business cards and a business line of credit. So she got a lot from just 4 places, but then he got even more from a couple other places. Definitely have gotten people, there's this one other person too, where, in less than 2 weeks of obtaining his EIN, right? So this is a brand new LLC. He got approved for around 230,000 of 0 interest business credit cards. And all of this has been very recent. It's happened in the last few months. So the banks do not want to get rid of 0%. It's a way for them to get people in the door to eventually open checking accounts, apply for mortgages, car loans, personal loans, line of credit, home equity line of credit, right? The real ways the bank make money are those ways, right?
Yeah.
Where they can get cold hard cash from you to then give to someone else.
Yeah.
And then they're making interest, right? So it's not going anywhere. And, even in Q3, there were articles saying that, the banks are spending more money on promoting 0% offers than in the more recent times.
Definitely true. And yeah, I've definitely heard about you helping people get multiple hundreds of thousands. I've heard bigger numbers than that too in the past, but
Yeah.
from you specifically.
I mean,
on
yeah.
the
There's some
first
people
go.
recently, they got like $150,000 business line of credit on like one bank, one offer,
Yeah.
right? And that's going to be a little bit more for established people with established businesses. However, there are some places you can get that with no documentation, like tax returns or bank statements required. All of this is like stated income too. So you're not going to need to like show the bank like, tax returns or bank statements to get approved for this stuff. When a lot of people are like, oh man, like I don't have my tax returns, they're not that good. I wasn't making as much money as I wasn't making that much money like a year ago, and now I'm making like way more,
Yeah.
I met this guy, Kyle.
Yeah. I remember that when we were applying, I think we did like 10 to 12 different banks and lenders.
Yeah.
And
It's
only
totaling
two
up to
of
that
them,
large sum. Yeah.
yeah, only 2 of them asked to see like proof of income. And I was just like,
Yeah, we were really
nobody
thinking
just like
though.
everyone
We
just
were
took my
applying to
word,
some.
like didn't like no, bank statements, no tax returns. Like everyone just like I told them what I was making, and they're just like, all right, here's credit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
I actually really quick story that you mentioned that, because there was one time, and you remember this, where I like maxed out my Amex cards, right? And and I went into a financial review. They were pissed at me. They were like, bro, like why'd you max out your cards that much? And I paid them back super fast. Like, I like really like maxed them out, even went over the limits on some of them, right?
we want to hear numbers. Can you
Like,
tell us numbers? What were your limits on your Amexes? How much do you spend?
it was
How
like
fast?
multiple 5 figures. I'll tell you that. Right. It was a pretty large
And
sum.
you did
Like
it in a span of like a
they were
month,
probably
right?
allowing me at the time. They were allowing me like 40 or 50 grand, and I went over that. Right. And so they were like, they pulled the plug on me and they suspended the use of my cards. And I was like, what the heck? And but I just cooperated with them. But they asked me for tax returns, and I was like, I was like, I was like, dang, because like all my tax returns could say was that I was making like $50,000 a year. Not even, right? These
But
are like
those
my
were old
20.
tax returns,
Yeah,
right? You
these
didn't
are the
have
most.
your
Yeah,
current
because
one.
this happened early 2022, like February, March 2022,
Yeah.
and I had no tax returns for 2021, and I didn't even make that much money in 2021 either. Like, but all I had was 2020 tax returns. It was like the first year I ever like filed taxes, and man, I only had probably like 40,000 of income, and that was what I was starting to make per month. right?
Yeah.
So I was like, crap, well, how am I supposed to prove that I can pay back the cards when my tax return is so horrible? And I was telling them that over the phone. They were like, just send it in and everything should be all right. I was like, okay. I sent it in, paid down my cards, and I was giving back my cards, so I was able to start using them. They're still some of my favorite cards to use to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. Amex gives really great rewards. And then actually, can
Yeah.
you even touch upon that about how you can use credit
Yeah,
cards
there's
for
a lot of
maybe
cool
travel or
rewards. Yeah, for sure. It just depends on the card that you get, the one that suits you the best. I have like a lot of cashback cards. Kind of the card that I'm eyeing right now, and I know that you are eyeing too, is like a gold card
yeah.
through American Express, because you get 4 times points on trap. You get 4 times points on 2 categories of your choosing, and 2 categories that make sense for me are restaurants and online advertising. Because I could just like, I'll spend so much money on both those things in a year, and it'll just give me like free flights, right? Because I get all these kind of rewards points. But with these 0% offers, a lot of them are cashback cards, and what you could use them for is you could then get, like hey, spend $7,500 and get a spend $7,500, get a $750 cash bonus when you use the card. So a lot of people don't realize that if there's something that you actually want to invest in, you could get a discount using credit cards, and you get it 0%. Your minimum payment is lower than what it would be for an actual loan. And you're getting all these rewards stacked on top of it, getting like 2% cash back. You're getting welcome bonuses. You even get things like chargeback protection, which are really valuable too. It just depends on the card that makes the most sense for you. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of cool things. There's tons of options out there.
Definitely. Yeah. And then I've done some traveling, paid for entirely, like hotels and flights from the cards you recommended for me. And then just for fun, when was it, like you go back East Coast, West Coast, and other places?
Oh man, I don't
quite a
remember the
bit.
last time I paid for a flight.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just used the right card that makes the most sense for me, right? And I'll just rack up points, and then I'll just go and book flights, and never have to pay for a flight again.
Yeah, man. So I'm coming back for another funding cycle with you, and I'm going for the Amex Gold. This is my first priority because
that's a good one.
Full intention. My videographer and editor is going to come to Europe with me. We're going to operate out of Europe for like 2 months, paid for flights and hotels just from that card. So yeah. So definitely excited for that. And then what are some benefits about working with like an expert like you versus people just trying to do it on their own? Because I can say you helped me get 10 times as much funding as when I tried to figure it out on my own, because there is a whole process and system and layers. And I know you call the banks and know the specifics of what each lender likes and doesn't like on their applications. But tell us a little bit more.
Definitely a small. I think I'm doing this at like experts like myself, or you could call us experts, right? People who are just researching this every day. I'm doing this every day with people, right? And so are other people, right? I'm not like the only person who does this, right? But I think a lot of also what makes my approach different is I actually work one-on-one with everyone who enrolls into like my funding program, right? And working with me obviously gives you the opportunity to get more than what you could maybe get on your own, right? And and I already know a lot of the ins and outs. I save someone like a lot of time. I get them more money that they may be able to get on their own just because I already know the ins and outs. I've gotten people great results already, and it's very simple. It's not like rocket science, but there are some things where I had someone who actually enrolled into my program like earlier this week, and he signed up after completing someone else's credit stacking program, right?
Yeah.
And he told me that he applied for a lender that this is a very strict lender too. But he applied for it and he told me like the risk code, the industry that he used. And, I told him, oh, I don't know why that company gave you that risk code, because it's actually not a very good, there's actually better options out. And so he actually wound up getting denied and for the card. And after just so many runarounds, he figured out that the reason why he was denied was because he entered in the wrong industry code. And it could be, and then that could have been, an extra $10,000 or $20,000 he could have had, because he did reconsider. But now that he's, put himself out that way to the bank, he's already given them a red flag to consider, even if he were to reconsider, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't able to get approved. So it's like one small little slip up like that can actually just ruin the entire, approval process for someone. So,
Exactly.
it's like, what's like, if you're going to have the opportunity, especially with some of the things that you talk about, where it's like, the more money that you have, the more money you can make, right?
Exactly.
So like in a situation like that, like whatever the fee would be to work with someone like me or someone else, like how much does it really cost you to not like pay for it at all? You could get approved for 50,000 on your own, right? But then maybe with someone like me, you get approved for 100,000. And if you take some of your opportunities, for example, someone may double their income in 6 months. They go from 50,000 to 100,000. They make $50,000, right? But then someone who I helped get $100,000 and they go up to $200,000, they made $100,000, right? So when you consider those things, like looking back at, paying for a service like this, especially when it makes sense working with you, like, what's the big deal?
I know.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane. Yeah. Because man, I keep thinking about Bill, because he was like one of the first persons I introduced.
Yeah, man, that is a phenomenal story.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the first persons I introduced to Novatech, and he was in profit from your services, the cost of everything, within like 2 weeks. And he literally tripled his income from it. So I agree. It takes a level of confidence, to be willing to take on debt for a specific opportunity. But if your confidence is high enough, I mean,
I think that's a really good point too. Yeah, money isn't backed by confidence.
Yeah.
When I heard someone tell me that, it just rung through my ears. Money is.
All right, say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Money is an idea backed by confidence. Your ability to like spend it, use it, is all backed by your confidence to, have it, pay it back, use it, invest it, whatever it is, right? But like how freely you're able to use it and things like that is backed by your idea of how confident I am to make it back.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, working with you, it definitely helped me boost my confidence. And I would say you're a huge reason why I've tripled my income this year. And if I just maintain the same pace for October, I could say I quadrupled my monthly income by the end of this month.
That's the big thing, man. Like that. Like, I think all of this stuff just runs around the idea of like, a lot of that came through though. A lot of the ways that you've increased your income, and most people do, especially the entrepreneurship or independent space, is by like investing in yourself. And you could either wait like years and just try to grow this nest egg, also kind of maybe hold in your fears of taking the plunge, right? Like whatever it may be, right? Or you could do something actually very easy and simple. Just take advantage of your credit score, because everyone's got one, and it's not very difficult to have a good one either. You could get approved for all these 0 interest credit cards, and as long as you make the minimum payment, you're not going to have to pay interest. And you're going to have the opportunity to do something about your income a lot faster than if you were to save up like Bill, right? Because he was able to put so much credit in there, right? but he wouldn't have been able to do that, put that much in there if he had waited, 10 years to come up with that much money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
I mean, Bill,
cheat code.
Bill, it's unbelievable, bro. He literally tripled his income his first month.
Yeah.
And right now he's 7x his income. It's like 6 months in. And yeah, I mean, it's life-changing when you use it wisely and it goes well. So that is awesome. And then Andrew, if people want to reach you to learn more about exactly how you can help them, I know you have a whole opportunities and like referral network and a really great network yourself as well. Like, how can people learn how to like access and reach you and learn more about what you do?
Yeah, totally. So, well, I'm gonna definitely give you a calendar link that you could put below this video where you could book a call to speak with me. Yeah.
Thanks.
There'll be a couple of questions on there too for the people who want to book a call, but I have, Facebook, Instagram, currently running YouTube ads. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and the calendar link below are really good ways to get in touch with me as well.
All right, sounds great. All right, great. And as y'all know, I recommend Andrew highly. I already said Automatic Income wouldn't even be here without him, even though you said otherwise. But
it was all you.
You've been helping me the whole
plunge, you took the plunge and you actually went all in, and that you also set the example of, we just kind of lived that whole kind of idea of actually taking advantage of things to get to kind of what seems unreal for some people who watch these videos, right? I know that's how I felt like when I was watching the first kind of ads I saw on YouTube. I was looking at these guys like, dang, how did they get there? And now, now we're helping people get there.
Yeah, it's funny. We used to look at those ads, is that even real? Now we're like, oh, I know that guy. Oh, I know that guy.
I know that guy. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's funny, man. So anyways, it's a pleasure and honor to have you here. Once again, this is the Funding King, Andrew Imbessi. Boom. And yeah, man, this is just the beginning. You've helped so many people, changed so many lives already this year. And I know you're about to help change a lot more. So thanks so much for coming on today and providing a lot of valuable information.
Of course, anytime.
And opportunities. And I definitely want to collaborate with you a lot more.
Yeah, likewise.
All right. Well, that's it for our first interview here on Automatic Income Scaling. And we appreciate you for tuning in. Comment below about what you are interested learning more about, whether it's credit or any other topics that you want us to dive into next.
Subscribe and like this video.